but I want to thank all of you in the chapter for all the hard work you've done. We started looking at the wrongful conviction case of India Spellman back in the spring of 2020. And really, we got this case because of a case that I had started working on with students in my classes. I teach classes in prisons and punishment. I teach classes in law. And so we had started working in 2018 on a case, the Cynthia Alvarado case, a woman who had been wrongfully convicted and sentenced based on her involvement with a man who was the sort of principal defendant in that particular crime. Because she didn't cooperate with police, they gave her the exact same sentence that they gave the shooter, which was life in prison without possibility of parole. And working together with my students in my classes, we were able to get Cynthia Alvarado out from underneath that life sentence, and we got some media coverage on that. And as a result of the media coverage that we got on that, a friend of India's reached out to me. And I said, I can't do it. I can't, we have too many cases and we don't have enough people, and I can't get involved in another case. And this woman dogged me out, and dogged me out, and dogged me out, and finally I was like, all right, let me look at this thing. And so that was really the beginning of Philly Justice Project involvement in the case. And it's our great honor to be collaborating with Todd Mosser, who is India's current appellate attorney, who has really taken the ball all the way down the field, with Morkea Spellman, who's India's mom, and the entire Spellman family and all of India's friends. Hi, my friend. So what I want to do tonight is introduce the students who have been working on the case, or a couple of students who've been working on the case. I also just remembered that I was instructed to say that we are filming this so that when India gets out, she can see all the people who are here and all the people who have their hands on their back and who are supporting her exoneration. And this exoneration matters. Women are less than 10% of exonerees across this country. Women are 0% of exonerees in Philadelphia. So even though in Philadelphia we have a progressive district attorney who understands that wrongful convictions happen, who's made an effort to correct those mistakes, he has yet to exonerate a woman. And one of the reasons we're here tonight is because we want him to know that India deserves to be the first woman exoneree in Philadelphia. And we want to convince all of you, if you're not already, of that as well. So I'm filming this for India because I'm confident that she's going to be with us this summer.
Let's shoot for it.
Yeah, well, we have to do that. We have to do that.
Yeah.
So let's bring her home this summer. I want her to be able to see all the people who are here in support. And so for legal reasons, I have to say that if you don't want to be filmed and you don't want your picture taken, just let me know, or let one of the pink shirts know on the way out, so that we delete your face, or we'll probably pixelate your face is what we'll do, rather than delete you from the record. All right. So, without further ado, I want to have my three long-standing, four. Sorry, youngin', it's because you're not on Instagram, I forgot. So I want to introduce them. They're going to just give you a little piece, a little overview of different aspects of this case, and then we'll turn it over to Mr. Mosser to speak about where this appeal is and sort of what the key elements are in India's appeal. And then we'll turn it over to the principal legal strategist in this case, the one and only Ms. Morkea Spellman. So, Lydia Becker, Matt Rosenberg, Jess Marasco, and our incoming president of Philly Justice Project, Ajay Robinson.
Hi everybody, we're a few of the executive board members from the Villanova chapter. We'd like to briefly introduce ourselves, and then we'll give a few details about the case. So I'm Lydia Becker, I'm the founding president of the Villanova chapter, and I've been in this role since the fall of 2020, and I will be stepping down this semester to allow way for our new president, who's going to do a fantastic job this upcoming year, if she'd like to introduce herself as well.
I'll let you go back.
All right, my name is Matt Rosenberg. I'm a junior, and I had the pleasure of serving as casework committee co-chair with Ajay this past academic year.
Hi everyone, my name is Ajay Robinson. I'm co-chair with Matt on casework committee, and then next school year I'll be president of the Villanova chapter. I'm super excited.
Hi everyone, I'm Jess. I am the publicity chair, which my committee did an amazing job helping to put together this event. Yeah, shout out to them.
Okay, can everyone in the back hear us, or should we use the microphone? You're good? We're pretty. Microphone? Okay. Hello, is this working? It's not working.
It's this one.
Oh, thank you. So since the summer of 2020, is this on?
I don't think it is.
One moment, please.
I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. Thank you, sorry about that.
Is it working?
Hello.
Yes.
Fantastic. Since the summer of 2020, myself, Matt, Ajay, and Jess have been looking over the details of India's case and strategizing ways to raise public support to achieve justice for India. We'd like to briefly detail the case for you all. On August 20th, 2010, India was arrested as a suspect for 2 crimes, the most serious of which was the murder of George Greaves. She was taken in for questioning and was denied the presence of her parents in the interrogation room. The Philadelphia detective who conducted the interrogation was recently arrested on perjury charges for other cases. India left the interrogation room after being coerced into signing a false statement. She showed signs of having been physically abused. India was arrested for second-degree murder, tried as an adult, convicted, and sentenced to 30 years to life in prison.
India's alibi was that she was home with her father and grandfather at the time of the crimes, yet her father and grandfather were never contacted by lawyer Harry C.A. for an alibi. Phone evidence corroborated her alibi, showing that India started a 25-minute phone call at 3:33 p.m., which overlapped the 3:52 pronunciation of Greaves' death.
In addition to India's alibi, witness IDs also proved that India simply was not present during the day of the committed murder. 3 witnesses gave very similar descriptions of the female suspect, none of which matched India's appearance. The witnesses claimed that the shooter was an older female in her late 20s, with a dark complexion, heavier build, and was wearing all black Muslim clothing. India was only 17 years old at the time, has a light-skinned complexion, a small frame, and was raised as a Christian. Also, although detectives did an exhaustive search, they never found Muslim clothing in India's home.
For over a decade, India has been in prison for a crime she did not commit. But she has a hearing scheduled for June, which, if successful, could result in her exoneration. So we hope this event will spread awareness on the horrible injustices in India's case and gather as much support for her as possible. We are honored to have India's attorney and mother here with us tonight to share their knowledge and experiences with you. So without further ado, here's India's attorney, Todd Mosser, who has been working on India's case for the past 3 years.
Do I have to use this, or can you hear me? I'm good? Okay. I apologize in advance. Within the last hour, I was coaching my 7-year-old's baseball team. So if it seems like I'm yelling at you, that's why. So that was a really good overview of the facts of the case. There's more. Let me give you a brief synopsis of where we are legally. When you're convicted of a crime in Pennsylvania, you have a right to appeal. Okay? Indy was convicted, she appealed, she lost. So what's next? What happens if you discover new evidence? What happens if your lawyer was ineffective? You get to file a second kind of an appeal. And that's where I come in. We filed something called a Pcra petition, Post-Conviction Relief Act. Those of you that will go to law school will hear about this. The idea with this is essentially to kind of retry the case. What we're shooting for is a hearing, okay? The goal with one of these petitions is to get an evidentiary hearing. That in and of itself is a fight, okay? In this case, the district attorney's office has agreed to have a hearing. Good. So then the next question is, what's supposed to happen here? So there's 2 possible outcomes. One, we could go to a hearing. We could win her a new trial, okay? That's not good enough, okay? What we're really pushing for is a full exoneration. And I can tell you as a former prosecutor as an Army prosecutor and as a defense lawyer now for the last 9.5 years, I have never seen a case this bad.
Tell it, Todd.
It is bad, okay? I can tell you right now, we are working with the district attorney's office. They have something called a conviction integrity unit. And that is a unit that kind of takes a look at older cases that may involve something that's gone wrong. I have their ear. Here's some of the things to know about this case, factually. Yes, it's true. She matches nowhere near the description of the female that was involved in the robbery that preceded the homicide and the homicide. There was a robbery about 40 minutes before the homicide in this case. And there were 2 people involved in that. A juvenile male, who was about 14 at the time, and the female that was described before. India looks nothing like the female. As it was mentioned before, India has alibi witnesses. What happened to those alibi witnesses? They were not called at trial by India's lawyer. Nobody can really understand why that was. The phone record. There are phone records that show that India, as was mentioned before, was on a 25-minute phone call over the course of when the homicide happened. That's not just the only phone call. If you look at her phone records, you can tell this is a 17-year-old kid who liked to be on Facebook and on the phone, and there's like 30 phone calls, like all day. All right, she was home on the phone on Facebook, okay? So you've got the phone records, you've got the alibi, you've got the witness description that doesn't match. So what the hell happened? How the hell did she get convicted? Here's how she got convicted. She was pulled into an interrogation room. Mind you, 17-year-old kid, slight build, no prior contact with the criminal justice system. And a man approached her, about 6'2", 300 pounds, with what we have since learned a history of abusing people. Indy was struck. Indy was told if she signed a statement that was put in front of her, she could go home. She was struck in the mouth, scared out of her wits, didn't know what to do. She was denied access to her parents. Morkea may tell you how her parents were tricked into leaving so that the detectives could tell her her parents abandoned her. She signed a statement. Couldn't really read it, by the way. Asked to have it read back to her. I didn't do that. Statement was a confession. And I can tell you, in the criminal justice system, when you sign a confession, you're done. You're done. You can go into court and say, I didn't mean it, I didn't really say it, they put words in my mouth. People have been doing that, at least in Philadelphia, forever, and it never works. Here's the difference in this case. About 5 years ago, I had an experience with this particular detective, and we had all been hearing around the courthouse that this guy abuses people into signing false statements, threatens to take their kids away, uses physical force. I'm going to take your Section 8 housing away. You're going to get arrested unless you sign. So we were hearing about this for a long time, and so I went out and I found about 10 other people that said this stuff. We had a hearing, and a judge listened to the evidence, and for the first time held that as a matter of law, this person has a pattern and practice, a habit of abusing people into signing false statements. And so the floodgates open. Okay? And so there is a lot of cases involving this detective. Ms. Spellman's family came to me, and the case is very compelling, and I took it. And it's clear to me that's exactly what happened in this case. As was mentioned, this detective has since been arrested and indicted for this kind of behavior and lying about it. And so what we have here is a case where the evidence in and of itself, aside from this confession, doesn't really add up. It doesn't. You can't get a conviction based on that non-evidence.
Tom, we got India on the phone.
Yo!
She want to talk? Oh, she got hung up? Oh, okay.
She's still here?
No, she hung up, but she wanted to thank everyone for coming out and supporting her. She loved all y'all, and she said, don't give up. Don't give up.
Don't give up. That's right. And that is not going to happen. So anyway, I'm being very long-winded in saying the evidence in this case is nonsense. We have evidence of her innocence. We have evidence of corruption. And so the goal right now is we have a hearing on June 2nd. That's what's set, is the hearing for June 2nd. So the worst case scenario is we go into court, we litigate the case, we get her a new trial. Like I said, not good enough. What we're shooting for, what I am trying to negotiate, what I'm arguing and fighting and screaming and yelling about, is that this ought to be a complete exoneration. This case cries out for exoneration. This case cries out for actual justice. I can tell you, maybe I might get attacked for saying this in this room, but I am not a social justice guy, warrior. Okay? I'm a former prosecutor. As an officer in the Army, I'm a white man. And so this kind of case attracts not just me, but other folks who are former prosecutors, who are former true believers in law enforcement. And I can tell you, anyone who hears about this case, no matter your background, anyone who looks at the evidence in this case is compelled to one conclusion. And that is that until India's out, justice has not been served in this case.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
And so I've gone on long enough screaming and hollering. And I thank everyone for listening. I thank everyone for educating yourself about this case. Public awareness is a big deal. And it's just really an honor to be here in front of you, and it is equally an amazing honor to introduce India's mother, Ms. Morkea Spellman.
I'm not much of a speaker. I'm much of a activist. Never once that I thought I'd be walking in these shoes. To have a child that's innocent to experience something like this. And as a parent, it's even harder. I appreciate all y'all, each and every one of y'all, for coming out and supporting her. She just was on the phone like, Mom, tell them I love them. Thank you for supporting me. And I said, I will. So her love is to each and every one of y'all that wanted to come out to hear this, because it's family members that don't have people like you, me, supporters. That day my daughter was taken from me was the most horrible day. And sitting in that building waiting on somebody to come get me so I could be there with my child was like the most terrifying thing to go through. And then on top of that, to be told your child committed a crime that you know she didn't commit. I'm gonna try to be good today, you know. I'm not going to be long and drawn out. I just want y'all to know, if you have family members or anyone that's innocent, don't give up on them. I'm not going to give up on my child. She wasn't there. She's innocent. We have the proof. And hopefully by June, she'll come home to me. And I just want to give my blessings to all y'all for coming out here. And just hold us up and hold her up in your prayers. And the truth will come out. So that's where I'm at today.
Take questions from you guys, and I think all of our panelists, and there's a number of India's family and friends who are here. And I don't want to put you all on the spot, but I certainly would welcome your responses to questions that the students may have, or anybody may have. So, questions? Go ahead. Go ahead, Grandma.
I just want to know the petition. How many signatures have we got on the petition so far? I go back and forth, and I can see it's going up and up.
Yeah, so I think there might possibly be 2 petitions circulating. So the one that I started with, Justice Project, last I checked it was like just under 1,700, but I didn't look today or yesterday. And that's the one,
3,200.
32.
oh wow. Wow, nice, okay, all right. Every time we hit 1,000 signatures on that petition, it goes to Larry Krasner, the District Attorney of Philadelphia. And, you know, from a strategy perspective, I don't often use petitions. In this case, the petition matters because, so Krasner has a conviction integrity unit to review cases where people are claiming that they are innocent, that they are wrongly convicted. Of course, those cases, there's about 30 now, have gotten a lot of media attention, which means that, you know, more people file. So the last I looked at that, there were close to 2,000 cases, all sort of vying to be heard by that conviction integrity unit, which is understaffed and under-resourced. So it means that precious, precious few cases are going to get through. And that's why, you know, sort of the strategy in this case, one element of the strategy in this case, in terms of the advocacy, was to get that petition. To demonstrate to Larry Krasner that there are thousands of people in Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania, across the US, who are watching this case, who are concerned about this case, and of course, that kind of public attention matters. Because at the end of the day, district attorneys are political actors. They have to get elected to stay in office. And so politics matters, and leveraging politics matters. So somewhere there's a QR code that I know the youngins put up.
Like space bar on the computer over there.
I feel like you're asking too much of me. Thank you. Yeah, you guys can sign that petition and you know, keep signing, because one of the things that we would love is for Krasner to just drop this before we even get to the evidentiary hearing. Go ahead, Bruce Sr.
Yeah, I want to.
Mr. Bruce Sr.
Can I say something?
Oh, come on, Bruce. You want a mic?
I don't need one. People keep asking me the same question.
This
how
is
is
India's grandfather.
how is she convicted? And people always ask the same question. They didn't believe you because you're the grandfather. What you supposed to say? The problem was she was sitting next to me at the time that it happened. She was on 2 telephones, her cell phone, the house phone, and on Facebook. And I was sitting on my other computer right next to her. Okay? But nobody asked me. The lawyer never asked me. He never took me. He had me sequestered in the courtroom. I was outside, but he wouldn't let me speak. And I never could understand that. We're gonna find out at the hearing, though, why, you know, what happened. But now, Mr. Mosser, the first lawyer, he told me, don't worry about it, we win the appeal after she had lost the case, right? He started the appeal, then he dropped dead.
Mr.
Not him.
I didn't drop dead.
I take his temperature every time I see him. Anyway, so anyway, he dropped dead. The second lawyer comes in, and him and I had a good conversation. He told me, don't worry about it. There's no way possible she could lose the appeal. Tell her what happened there.
He dropped dead.
He dropped dead. All right?
Somebody take Todd's temperature.
All right, then the third lawyer comes in. He won't talk to us because we're not the ones in prison, he said. Right? So he lost the appeal. The fourth guy comes in, and he told me that this is stupid. He said the girl was 185 pounds and dark-skinned, and your granddaughter is about 150, 120 pounds, and she's the same color as Halle Berry. He said he don't understand how it happened, right? Then he dropped dead. 3 of her lawyers dropped dead. That's hard to believe. That's what happened.
Yeah, that's like
You
disturbing.
understand? Now, here's another part of it. My wife's preacher, Father Shaw, hooked up a meeting with me and the district attorney. So we met at the church, and I explained the whole thing to him. He said, don't worry about it. I'm going to look into it, and I guarantee you, if what you're saying is true, she'll be out. Then a couple of days later, he went to jail. Seth Williams. Now, is that a movie or not? All right? All this stuff happened to the poor child. And she keeps asking me what happened. You know, I keep on telling her that's what happened, and then she don't really believe me. You know, you can believe that the DA went to jail the next day? No. But that's what happened. You know? You got any question for me? But how many people know me from the radio, the talk show on WHAT or URD? Nobody knows me, I guess.
That's because they're so young, my friend.
Anyway, all my people.
I have a statement. My name is David Mansfield, and I'm a stockholder.
What's she saying? I can't hear.
And he says I'm
What she said?
She was locked up with him.
Oh, come on up. Come on up.
I want to say something too. This is a very heart-touching case right here, because if you don't know us, and we never got a chance to tell our side of the story. She never had a chance to tell her side. She just was taken and thrown in jail. To hear people that been through with her, me, we know her. We know this is not her. All my daughter wanted to do was play basketball. That was her life. And she loved to make people smile. So when we say we're grateful that all of you came out to be curious, to know what's going on, because you never know. One day you might be here, and you want somebody to listen. Knowledge is the key, and we here trying to help my daughter get out, and we know y'all here to help her too. We just appreciate it. I'm gonna let this lady talk.
Respect that. But hello, my name is Dana Lomax Elder. I was locked up with India for quite some time. I have 25 years on and off incarceration. And so when I came home Father's Day 5 years ago, when I left, I promised the women that I would come back, but I wouldn't be in handcuffs. And so they said, what you going to do? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to do something, but whatever it is, I'm going to be crazy. So what do? I'm a voice for the voiceless. I told them, you know, I know India, and we know she didn't do, we know her story. You know, it's like women who have become like sisters and mothers, and daughters, cousins. So our job is to meet them at where they at in whatever capacity that we can. Showing up is writing a letter, if it's visiting, whatever we could do, right? To lift them up and give them motivation, inspiration, encouragement, because you don't know. You have absolutely no idea what we're going behind the walls, but it's people like y'all and moms and it's the strategic support system that we need. So I always say we need you to help us help your loved one behind the walls. Thank you.
I'm a retired police officer, police officer myself. It's going to be interesting when I get in front of that judge. You have one policeman testifying against another one. Listen, I've never seen it happen before. This is going to happen this time, right, Mr. Mosser?
You will have your say.
I'm going to have my say in that courtroom.
Questions? Go ahead.
Is there any way for us to like write to India or like get in contact with her?
Yes, she has the address, and I'll have that up on
It's
the
on-
website.
Yeah, and it's on the website, and it's on Instagram, Justice Project's Instagram, which matters so much
Yes.
to get mail if you're incarcerated. It matters so much. So absolutely, and you can send her a snail mail. Of course, they have this whole hustle now going on, in Pennsylvania where it's like you can't send it to the prison anymore directly. It's some private contractor in Florida, so-called to vet the mail, which of course tax dollars just out the window. So you'll see an address that says Florida and you'll think that's counterintuitive because it's going to a private company and then they'll like print it out and send it to India. But you can also sign up to email her too if you're so inclined. Oh, hi. Go ahead, Natalie. Outgoing president of Black Pre-Law Student Association.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm very grateful to be here and just be able to listen to everyone's stories. Thank you all so much for being able to be so vulnerable and share. One of the questions I have is, so this has been going on for years. So what are some of the steps that the Philadelphia Justice Project has taken to get us a June 2nd date?
Well, that's really like the steps that the attorney has taken to get us that date. What we do is yell really loudly when there's delays. We sort of kick up a fuss and then we tag Krasner in it and we grumble when it seems like the ADA assigned to the case was not prepared and didn't know how many witnesses were going to be allowed to come into the evidentiary hearing. And so we're really focused on the kind of public advocacy and then the political pressure end of things. And one thing that I like to do in terms of Justice Project and ways that we've worked effectively with counsel has been to be the sort of bad dog in the room. So we get to say things that would be problematic for the family to say, would be problematic for her attorney to say, and you know that this is like actually my wheelhouse in life. I'm good at barking and barking and barking and barking and making people uncomfortable and holding people accountable. So that's principally been our strategy on this. And really when we took this case, and for those of you who are in Justice Project or who are thinking about jumping into Justice Project for next year, when we start a case, we start from the perspective, we don't know anything about the case. So we just sort of start fresh because there are so many and we can only take a small fraction. And then we just start working that case from the ground up. Are there legs in this particular case? And so when I got dogged out about this one, students went to the crime scene. Because sometimes it's as simple as going to the crime scene to see if what people testified that they saw, they could have actually seen, given the sort of architecture and geography of the space. So that's how we start. And then we make decisions from there as a collective. Do we think there's legs on this case or not, and is there ways that we can be useful? And honestly, from a career perspective, I started working on cases as a sociology graduate student, and my first case was a death penalty case, which I shouldn't have been on at all. That speaks to the poverty of the resources. You shouldn't have had a graduate student working a death penalty case. There was no lawyer in that case. I helped the person on death row file what's called a pro se motion because there was no one else around to do it. And so, thinking about Justice Project on campus is really sort of mobilizing the resources that we have to come to the assistance of the person who's fighting their conviction and their family and their friends and their legal team. Other questions, and it doesn't have to be for me. We have such great resources here tonight.
Is the case open to the public on June 2nd, or do we let
Yes. Pack the board. Pack it.
Yeah, the other thing I love to do is put bodies in court because it puts everybody, it creates accountability for everyone there. It creates accountability for the judge because, in this case, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. And so your sort of last, fail stop is that judge. Is a judge looking at the story of this young woman, a woman who'd never been in trouble with the law in her life, who literally, her days are like, she goes to school, she plays ball, she works at Dunkin' Donuts, and she's on the phone, and she's on Facebook. She comes from a good family. The judge acknowledges that, and then doesn't pause to consider what looks like inconsistencies in the testimony. There's a witness at trial, the robbery victim at trial says, I'm blind as a bat. I left my glasses back in the other room, I can't see. that didn't give anyone pause in that courtroom except for India and her family. So us being there puts everybody on point. Puts defense counsel on point, puts prosecutors on point, puts judges on point. Everyone knows they're being watched. And for those of you that have been in my class before, where you have that mandatory assignment where you got to sit your ass in a courtroom, and inevitably the judge says, what are you doing here? That's accountability. That judge is singling you out because they don't know why you're there, and they're worried that you're press, or a blogger, or a TikToker. So that matters. Bodies in that courtroom, please join us.
Just by way of example of why or how bodies matter, my 17-year-old and his girlfriend are coming. They're skipping school that day.
Go ahead.
First of all, to the family and friends, I keep you all in my prayers and praying for you all.
Thank you.
Also, what else can we do besides pack the courtroom and spread the information on social media? What else, like, what the family want us to do to spread the information or TJP as well?
Well, being here, social media is like the new wave now, they're getting it out. Yes, political advocates of your community. We try every avenue, and it seemed like, but if it's only just us, who gonna listen? But if it's a lot of us, they gonna listen. They gonna listen. Because now, you're not gonna have just this girl family. You have this girl family and people that wanna know what are y'all doing to get this girl out. Innocent people. You know what I'm saying? So, you can call me. I can help you. Jill. It's different avenues, but if it's only just us, then we ain't gonna get hurt. But all of you coming out, we're being hurt. So it's gonna go further than this. Once you tell a friend, family, or even somebody, hey, do you know? Do you have somebody? Do you know? Because I'm an advocate. When I'm out there on my job, I pull people to the side. What are you doing with yourself? Do you have a job? Do you need help? It starts there. It starts there. And y'all starting here. So.
And blow up Krasner's email. I mean, you know, make a ruckus. Like, dudes, your TikTok, somebody, I don't think it's a Nova youngin', but somebody took like Justice Project's early, not early, but post from maybe like 9 months ago, and just made a TikTok where like it was like their head and then our posts in the background. And when I last checked that, she had like 50,000 views, which is
Right.
Yeah, and like as far as I know, like she's not. I mean, maybe she is now, but she wasn't an influencer. So there's just a way in which there's way more traction on that video content, which is not something that any of us are. It's just not our native language, you know. So talk about the case any way that we can get media. Any way that we can get media, especially, I mean, it would be phenomenal to get national press coverage on this case. So thinking about ways to get India's name into sort of a national conversation is key. With Alvarado, I wrote a story about, it was just a one-off. It was a story about Cynthia Alvarado not getting visits on Mother's Day in prison. National press coverage. National press coverage. And then all of a sudden, Cynthia Alvarado's name is familiar to every single person in that DA's office, just on a, like, essentially a sort of fluff story. So it doesn't even have to be trying to position stuff around a wrongful conviction, though that would be great. It can be, you know, different avenues into thinking about, hey, here's a high school basketball star whose career is derailed. How did it happen? Get sports prep. I mean, just, you know, y'all are like so creative. This juice is flowing.
And we have a petition.
And we got the petition.
We have a petition. Free India, Philly's Justice Project that's going around. So
I guess being, I gotta leave.
You're fine.
Right. On the website.
Hi, I think it's very, very important for June the 2nd for us to pack that courtroom. We have never missed, in the 11 years that India has been in there, we have never missed any of the court data. Her mother and I, when we used to go to Cambridge Springs, I would have to take a day off. And we would ride up there on the bus. And we used to do that every 3 months to see India. And it would be a 8-hour drive all night long. And then when we met with India, it was always 8 hours.
Yes.
And then we would get back on the bus and come back. And we would drive all day and all night. And the next day I would have to take off work because I was exhausted. But since now, I have retired. So I have plenty of time. So if everybody would just come and just pack that courtroom, that's very, very effective. Very effective. That's all I'm gonna have to say. Because India is our first grandchild. She's my first. And she's a good kid. That's all I'm saying.
She's a good kid. That's something we haven't talked about really. It's easy to get fired up about the injustice of the facts of the case and everything, but I've spoken to India. I have a lot of clients who are serving life. India's case keeps me up at night in part because she really is, she's like a really good person. She's someone who you want to be friends with. So it's an extra motivating kind of driving thing to know that this is a good person we're talking about that really has been screwed. So yeah, I agree with what everyone else is saying, but she's a good kid. That kicked off some of mine. Yeah.
And she's a Villanova Wildcat super fan.
You know, it was, one of the worst things about it, though, I had promised her I was going to take her to Paris when she graduated. Okay? So what happened, and then this thing happened, and you see what happened there with prom. I took her cousin, they were close friends anyway, I took her cousin to Paris. I didn't want her to know, but she found out, that she missed that trip.
Well, she's gonna find out.
So I had to give it to her when she gets out.
I'll say something really quick. So as far as packing the courtroom for June 2nd, what I'll do is I'll make an Excel sheet and everyone can put their emails. And when the date comes up, I'll send out another email about that. So if anyone's interested, because I know it'll be summertime. But if anyone can make it and is interested, we can figure things out.
And last but not least, y'all giving me a day where in 12, almost 12 years, I can rest because I know she has support. I haven't had breaking no rest nonstop. So I thank y'all so much. I waited for this day because it's like we got ears, we got people, we got you know, and hopefully it don't stop just here. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, I know we're only booked for an hour, so I want to thank everyone, especially India's family and friends, Mr. Mosser, my youngins,